Do you know what? I've forgotten everything. Right, never mind.
It's not the right time, Ant, to forget
I know.
everything.
Shh, it's all right. I'll be good. Do it on the night.
It is the night.
Before now, mysteries had never been discussed or uncovered. But now, Contumacious Ant and Atreya are back for a second season. The MO Podcast.
Hello and welcome all into the MO Podcast. As always, you're here with me, Contumacious Ant, and...
I'm me, Atreya.
Kind of, yeah, I forgot. Yeah, see, told you I'd forgot.
You forgot what?
How to start.
What to say?
Yeah, like words.
Every week? It's every week? You can't words.
I can. Anyway.
Professionalism is so real.
It's just, I mean, we didn't start off very high, but I think we've gone like negative.
It's gone downhill from here.
It's like minus Calvin level at the minute.
Love it.
Anyway, today we're talking about the paranormal and weird stuff. Indeed. What are you going to be discussing?
I am going to be talking about the Winchester Mystery House. Or House, if you're from Gateshead.
Oh,
The Winchester Mystery House.
there's a moose loose around that house.
It's not quite Gateshead, but good effort.
The wine gum advert.
I know, it's Scottish. The man's in a kilt.
Yeah.
I'm talking Gateshead. It's a little bit further south.
I still don't know what relevance the moose had to Scotland, but still.
You know about it if there was a moose loose in your house as well.
Well, yeah, indeed, exactly.
You'd have no fucking wine gums for a start.
You probably have no front door, to be honest with you, because...
Who needs a front door anyway?
Especially in Scotland.
They're overrated.
Yeah, I mean, very few in Glasgow.
They're just blocking your way to the pub, really, aren't they? So,
yeah.
let's face it.
True that, yeah. And yeah, I'm going to be talking about Annabelle.
Really?
The spooky, spooky doll.
Oh, wow. You've pulled it out of the bag with this one.
You know what? I did go on about doing an exorcism, and then I kind of got all wrapped into the Conjuring world and all that, and then I thought, you know what? Annabelle, because it's just nonsense. But
how dare you?
It's a doll.
Ed and Lorraine Warren are respectable kooks, I will have you know.
Yeah, we'll talk about them.
Do you want to start?
Yeah, Annabelle. If you don't know about Annabelle, it's a spooky, spooky doll that was a Raggedy-Ann doll. If you've seen the film, it's nothing like that. It's a big, floppy wool doll. It's not...
Like a rag doll?
Yes, yeah. It's not a porcelain doll like the film is.
Do you not think that the rag doll is more scarier than the porcelain one, though? Because
It
I think
is.
she's scarier.
Yeah, it's freaky as. And the reason
Why
why
didn't
they
they use
used...
the original?
Because of trademark infringement.
Oh, come on.
With the Raggedy-Ann company, they weren't allowed to use it, so they kind of tried to make it scarier, and really, I don't know, if I had a Raggedy-Ann doll crawling up me in the middle of the night, then I'd be freaked out more.
You would think that Raggedy-Ann would be, the company would be okay with that, because, I mean, what children who have Raggedy-Ann dolls are watching The Conjuring anyway? Because bad parenting, if that's the case. But, like, I mean, I don't know any adults that are particularly attached to the Raggedy-Ann dolls, so it's not going to, ruin anyone's dreams or anything.
Well, it's kind of interesting you say that, because the Annabelle was actually a doll of a person called Donna, who was a student nurse, and it was given to her as a 28th birthday present.
Oh, dear Lord.
Yeah, so...
Somebody didn't like her.
It was given, apparently, this is all allegedly, I'm not even going to bother using quote marks because I'll have arthritis by the time I finish this. It was given to her by her mother for her 28th birthday. I don't know the whys and wheres of why, but I think it was something that she wanted as a kid, but she never could have it as a kid. So, anyway. Donna was a student nurse. She lived with another student nurse called Angie. And for a couple of weeks, everything was fine and dandy. It was all good. But then Annabelle, which is what they eventually called the doll, started to move. Now, at first, it'd just kind of like fall off the bed. So Donna would leave it on the bed in the morning, and then she'd come back and it'd be on the floor next to the bed. Or it was on a chair and it'd be on the floor next to the chair. So she thought nothing of it. It was just like, oh yeah, whatever. But then she got a little bit like wanderlust and started exploring the whole apartment that they were living in. And Donna would leave her on the bed, the doll. It's not her, it's a doll. Would leave the doll on the bed in the morning, and she'd come back and she'd be in the couch, just like chilling. I don't know if she had a fag on the go or if she was like
watching a bit of EastEnders,
binging
Omnibus.
Netflix or something. I have no idea. But so Donna obviously asked Angie if she was like moving her around, and Angie was like, no, I'm not doing anything with her. I've noticed that sometimes like she'll be on the couch, and then after I've gone and done some stuff, come back, she'll like, your room will be closed, your bedroom door will be closed, and she'll be gone. So it's a little bit weird, isn't it? And because obviously dolls do that.
It's traumatic is what it is. I'd be terrified.
Yeah, me too. I mean, when you were a kid, did you never think, like, when you closed the fridge, like, all the carrots would be having a party and stuff?
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay, that's just me then.
That was just you. I did used to like that. I had this one bear though that my gran bought me one time, and it was like, I think it was a rust bear, and he always had this like it might just be my kid brain, but I just always thought he was mean. Right? He had this mean face, even though he just looked like an ordinary teddy bear. And sometimes I would come in and like the rest of my teddy bears were like splayed out on my bed, and he was still sat there, and I was like, he's beating up the other bears while I'm at school. So I like hid him in the bottom of the wardrobe and put him in a box, and like even now I think he's in the loft somewhere in a bin bag. Like, I couldn't get rid of him because he's expensive and it would hurt my gran's feelings, but at the same time, like, he's a mean bear and he doesn't deserve to have other bear friends, so, because he beats them up.
So you thought your bear was bullying your other stuffed animals?
Yes, and I do not suffer bullies, I tell you now.
I mean, that's a good way to deal with a bully. Put it in a bin bag and leave it in the loft, but...
Yeah? They should do it to all bullies.
It's a little bit...
Stick them in a bin bag and leave them in the loft.
A little bit Dennis Nielsen, but...
I mean, he's never bullied any bears since, so clearly it works.
Well, it works, yes. There you go. Get results from it, I suppose.
Do you not just think though some toys do have, like... I don't know, they just seem like they're not nice stuffed things. They just seem like if there could be a possessed toy, that it would be that. You just know. Some stuffed toys just look... Sorry, I'll take my tinfoil hat off. Please continue.
Yeah, no. Stuffed toys are stuffed toys. That's all they are.
It's because you're old. You don't understand.
Fine. Fair enough. Okay. But anyway, getting back to the stuffed toy that was Annabelle. Around about this time, the flatmates started to find little notes dotted about the place, which just had simple little messages written on them, like, help me, or help us. I don't know what to do with this information. The thing is, with these notes, allegedly, they were written on parchment paper, which neither of the two women had ever bought or used within the flat. So this was coming from somewhere, and they started to get a little bit antsy about it.
Do you not think it was the other stuffed bears writing the notes because Annabelle was bullying them? Just putting it out there.
Yeah, could be, yeah. That probably makes more sense than whatever Ed and Lorraine came up with.
They don't think like I do.
No, Jesus, you would have made a great demonologist.
Hey, it's still time, yeah. 30 quid for that course.
Oh, that's yeah, plenty, yeah. The future is stretching out in front of you.
Always wanted me PhD in demonology.
I tell you, I can't wait. Can't wait to throw my mortarboard up in the air on that day. So now we introduce a character called Lou, because this is basically a fucking play. This isn't real. So Lou was Angie's boyfriend, and apparently he was kind of like you. He thought the doll was evil, and he had a bad feeling about it, and he repeatedly kind of voiced his opinion that they should get rid of the doll because didn't like it. He said, "Oh, it's a right one, that."
But it weren't a new doll, though, was it? It was a second-hand doll.
It was a second-hand doll. Apparently, they couldn't find... I think this was like in the 70s. So apparently, they couldn't... I don't know, because there's different stories. There's one that says the actual make of the doll couldn't have been bought before 1970, whatever it was. And there's stories that say Donna's mum bought it from a second-hand shop.
Yeah, that's the story I heard.
Yeah, so it depends. There's a lot of different sources and a lot of different timelines on this. So it just depends whatever you want to believe on it, really. So one day after Donna had a long, hard day at work, she came back and she just wanted to relax, and she went in the bedroom and then just looked at Annabelle, and she was oozing blood from her hands. So,
creepy.
Yeah. So apparently the doll was oozing some kind of red substance from its hands, and every time she kind of wiped it up, then more would like appear. So it was at this point where they went, right, let's call the authorities. So they called a medium, like you would.
The authorities. I love
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
And this is why just shysters don't even get involved. So this is where basically.
But her boyfriend was there going, "See, I fucking told you she was bullying the other bears.
Told you.
Never listened to
Get
me."
a bin bag. Where's the loft? Come on. So from this medium, this is where the name Annabelle came from, because they held a seance in the house, and apparently they were contacted by a spirit called Annabelle Higgins, and she was a 7-year-old little girl who had died in the vicinity of the area. Before the apartment block was built, there was a field there, and Annabelle's body was found there, and she was just hanging around until something came up, and apparently this doll was the thing that she decided to enter into and become this kind of whimsical spirit, I suppose.
Was there ever any newspaper articles to back up that a little girl's body had been found in a field anyway?
There's no newspaper articles to back up any of this shit. So, I mean, we're stretching now on this. Yeah. So, I mean, bizarrely, Donna and Angie gave their permission for Annabelle to live in the doll. I don't. She'd been there.
Like you would.
Yeah. She'd been there for a good few weeks now already. She's kind of got her feet under the table, so she's like, I don't give a shit. I'm not leaving anyway. And B, they went, oh yeah, that sounds all right. Even though she's oozing blood and walking around the place, yeah, we'll let her stay.
Because that's not creepy at all. Yeah.
Apparently because they felt sorry for her and they were caring people, because they were nurses was the only reason I found to that.
They were nutters.
Yeah. So
who would agree to that?
I don't have a parent. Anyway,
I don't mind a possessed toy walking around my flat. It's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
Keep your scissors away.
Do you know what? I think who would agree to that is two made-up people in a story that is make-believe. I think that's who would agree to that.
Yeah. There's a reason Five Nights at Freddy's terrifies people, and that's because possessed toys are not a cool thing.
Yes, they're not actually a thing, but we'll get to that in a bit. Well, it depends who you believe, really, doesn't it? And then we've got another couple of shysters coming up in this tale anyway. So basically, not long after the girls went, yeah, it's fine, you live here, it'll be all cool. Lou started getting fucked with, like, big time. And he started having really bad dreams. And about Annabelle, about specifically Annabelle the Doll, and there'd be instances where Annabelle would do stuff to him in his dreams, and not the kind of 17-year-old dreams, 16, 17-year-old dreams you have, where, I'm not going to say dolls, but people do stuff to you. Anyway.
Take your word for it.
Yeah, editing that.
No, you won't.
I know, too lazy. And then one night, in a state of sleep apnea, I assume, he claimed to have woke up, and Annabelle, the Raggedy-Ann doll, was climbing up his body. Started at his legs, and it was slowly climbing up him. And he claims he could feel the weight of a doll that was stuffed with cotton on his chest.
It doesn't weigh anything, though.
Exactly. So, I mean, you kind of like, oh, here we go. And then it started strangling him with no opposable thumbs. So, it's just not even... Because it doesn't have opposable thumbs. It just has stitch marks where its fingers are. So it can't even...
You would just, like, get up off the couch, take the doll, and, like, cut its head off with a pair of scissors, wouldn't you? And then put one bit in the recycle bin and one bit in the green bin, and think, that's it. Deal with that, bitch.
Yeah. Oh, you just burn it. It's wool and cotton. Jesus. It's going to go up. And especially in the 70s as well. God, they were made of asbestos and God knows what else.
I was going to say it was probably... Well, no, if it was made of asbestos, it's not going to go up at all, is it?
Well, no, I suppose.
The fireproof?
Yeah.
Wait, not fireproof. Is it fire retardant or something?
Glad you said that.
I think that was the word in the 60s.
Yes, it was.
It's not fireproof, is it?
No, is it
fire repellent? No.
Inflammable or flammable? What's the difference? They both set on fire. Just confusing me with your words. Yeah. So
it doesn't burn very well.
Yes. Basically, it'll just char a bit and not go up. But yeah, so he had this crazy dream where he was being strangled by a doll, and he thought it was real. And he lives with a pair of nurses, and they went, "Yeah, sounds legit. That we won't look at getting you any drugs or getting you sectioned or anything."
Doesn't it not sound like repressed sexual feelings? He lives with a pair of nurses and he's dreamed about getting strangled by a doll.
It sounds
he just
like
needs a bit leg over.
Yeah, he just needs to. We've all been there, Lou. Don't worry about it.
Okay, that says all kinds of weird things about you and dolls, but continue.
I don't want to know. Anyway. So, just after this, when apparently they were planning for a road trip, Lou and Angie were alone in the flat, and they heard movement coming from Donna's room. They knew she was out, she'd gone to work, and fearing an intruder, they went to investigate. And as Lou opened the door, he had a quick look round. There's no one in there, but there's Annabelle, the doll, on the floor. And she's face down. She's like face planted off the chair again. And he, as soon as he stepped into the room, he said or it's alleged that he said, there's no direct quotes of any of this. It's alleged that he felt a fear, a foreboding that something bad was going to happen. And as soon as he bent down to pick the doll up, he felt a searing pain in his chest. And when he on further inspection, he had 7 claw marks 4 going across, 3 going down, which apparently is a sign of demonicness.
The Holy Trinity is the mocking of, isn't it?
Yeah.
Zach Bagans taught me that.
Don't even... Right. I could talk about him about this, but...
Well, you have to finish with him, don't you?
Oh no. There's I'm never gonna finish on Zach. That now that is getting edited. That came out wrong.
I love Zach Bagans.
I know you do, but I probably won't ruin your thoughts on him because you can't, but he was a right one about this as well.
He owns her. He's got to promo it.
He doesn't own her. She's still in the museum.
No, he bought Annabelle.
No, he didn't.
Did he not?
No. So,
Zach
been lying?
No, he had somebody come in, didn't he? He had somebody come in and bring the Annabelle doll in to speak to it. Not to speak to him, but to sit with him because he wanted Annabelle. No, it's
He went to the museum.
Yeah.
He did go to the museum and see Annabelle.
Did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that later because.
Okay. Oh, you're actually going to talk about Zach? Okay.
Yeah. Just because you brought him up, now I'm going to have to. Nothing personal, Zach, but you're a fraud.
He's not.
Okay.
Continue.
So anyway, they were really obviously after this incident. Lou kind of saw his ass and went, "You better get rid of that doll, or else." I don't know what the threat was there because obviously he weren't getting his leg over because he's having these repressed dreams, so he's got nothing to hold back. But Donna kind of freaked out a bit and she contacted Oh, fucking hell.
You do it every week. You always pick names.
Episcopal. How'd you say it? What is it?
I don't know. I haven't got it in front of me, have I?
It was. I thought it was quite pertinent to the story, but she contacted a priest, basically, of the Episcopal faith, which is like Protestant, but just with more bells and whistles, I suppose. And he was called Father Hagen. Now, he had no fucking idea what to do about this, so he just went, you know what? It's above my pay grade, this. And he contacted Father Cook. And Father Cook went, do you know what? Get on the phone to the Warrens, because I ain't dealing with no fucking doll. Priest. I just do mass and shit.
Sounds sensible.
And yeah, he contacted Ed and Lorraine Warren. The thing about this is these priests, there's no first names to them. There's no area in which we could kind of try and trace these people. Just going to put that out there. And then Ed and Lorraine Warren came on the scene. Now, we've kind of glossed over, we've mentioned them previously, but I think we've glossed over them, to be honest, with...
Yeah, I think it's because we're both in agreement about Ed and Lorraine. It's the only thing we do agree on, actually.
Yes, they're just like charlatans and...
frauds, yes, indeed.
Yeah. They, Ed Warren is a self-taught demonology expert. Right. That's like, if I walked in to, like, emergency kin room and went, do you know what, it's all right, I'm a self-taught doctor. I'll stitch you up, love. I'd be in prison, right?
How do you even become a self-taught demonologist? You have to learn Latin. You can't self-teach Latin. You have to learn it from somewhere. You don't just pluck it out of thin air. And no one... You can't just visit somewhere where they speak Latin on a daily basis because that is the language of their country 24/7. It's not a thing.
This is it. Granted, I don't mean to do him down or anything.
I do.
But he had a few cases before this, like the Perron family and the Enfield haunting. Before this, before people started cottoning on to how much of a shyster he was, and it's like, hang on a minute, he blatantly advertises that he's self-taught. If you self-teach yourself anything, you've got to be a maniac.
Mm-hmm.
Because how do you don't innately know that. It's just a feeling you have. It's like, oh, yeah, I know the stock market. It's going to be great. No, you don't.
I mean, like, I get, like, self-taught musicians and stuff, because you just keep pressing the key until you get one that sounds good next to another one. But a self-taught demonologist, like, it's just not... It's not possible. I'm sure the church would also agree. It is not a thing.
You'd think that, but they were in quite close contact with a lot of church members, to be honest with you. And Lorraine was a medium and a psychic, so I mean that tells you as much as you need to know. My personal take on these two is they kind of like wanted to be the Fred and Daphne of the Scooby-Doo, but they kind of ended up like Shaggy and Scooby.
Derek Acora.
Just, oh God, yeah. Anyone called David, Dwayne, John, Ian? Anyone?
Yeah, like that, exactly.
But they do have, I'm not going to say a lot of pull, but they did create stuff. They created the New England Psychic Investigation Bureau or something. I don't know. They've got they've got a museum basically where Annabelle was stored at the end of it, and it's quite interesting because since Lorraine passed away last year, that their website has now changed name to TonySpearer.com, which is their son-in-law. He's not let the grass grow under his feet. He's taken over all that.
Zach doesn't like him.
Well, he doesn't like Zach either.
Well, I'm team Zach.
Yeah, well, okay. I mean, I'm team neither of them, but... but yeah, basically, the Warrens came in and they went, you know what? Dolls can't be possessed. You can't possess an inanimate object. Come on. Ed knows all this. He studied it from his own notes. It's obviously been manipulated by an inhuman demonic spirit. And everyone went, yeah, that seems legit, yeah.
Why did we not think of that?
So the Warrens also turned around and went, this is just the infestation stage. If we would have been like 3 weeks later, there would have been hell to pay. We got here in the nick of time. So what we're going to do is we're going to take your doll and put it in our museum so we can make some money off it.
Yes, quite odd that.
Yeah, they got Father Cook to perform an exorcism. And the Episcopal exorcism it's not like the power of Christ compels you. It's not like that kind of stuff. It's basically 7 pages long, and it focuses on filling the home with a positive power and the power of God rather than kind of expelling evil entities. And the thing is with the Warrens as well, they went, you know what, we'll take this doll. If it is possessed, we're possession proof. So even though you were 3 weeks from you noobs being possessed, it'll never affect us. Like, what? I don't...
Because they were all full of positivity and they went home and they were like, the power of me compels you. Stay in that case. Positively do not open. I'll put a little sign on. I love that little sign. Positively do not open. Mate, I have no intention of touching that weird-ass bitch doll. No intention. You don't need to tell me twice. I wasn't going to open it.
Still just a doll, though, at the end of the day. I mean... So I mean, on the way back, on the drive home, taking Annabelle in the car, apparently the doll was super upset and made the car's brakes fail, the steering fail, made it swerve. The car swerve around corners. The car stalled. I just think Ed's a bad driver.
He's
to be quite frank with you.
terrible driver by the sounds of it.
But all this stopped when Ed reached into his bag and used his emergency holy water on the doll and did the sign of the cross over it.
Never go anywhere without your emergency holy water. It's like pepper spray, but
yeah,
for self-taught demonologists.
Yeah, indeed. That's what you need. And then when they got back to their museum, they just kept the doll in Ed's office, and on 2 separate occasions, the doll levitated, just right in front of Ed. Like, of course it did. Why would it not? It's never levitated before, but you're sat there doing your demonology, revising from your own notes that you've made up, and it just starts floating up.
Like it's a massively dangerous, possessed doll, possessed by a demon, and you just pop it on the sideboard while you're doing your
invoicing.
You
just put it in the chair next to his desk, apparently.
Yeah, seems safe.
Annabelle moved around their house repeatedly, and apparently a black cat materialised next to her, had a walk round, had a look at all Ed's unholy relics that he's got in his thing, and then went back to her side and dematerialised from the head down.
I'm not being funny, but cats like just walk into rando people's houses, like they just have no shame. That's just what they do. That was probably just their neighbour's cat, and it was like, fuck it, there's an open window, it's fair game, innit? And it just walks in, and it's like, has a look around, it's like, massive clutter of shite here, isn't there? Need food. And then it just fucks back off through the open window in the kitchen. Goes back home.
I can believe that more than it materialising and dematerialising in front of Ed's own eyes.
Well, yeah, that's what cats do. They just come into people's houses, gate crash, and then they bugger off again. It's just a cat thing.
Yeah, they are.
They don't got manners.
No, of course. They're not knocking on the door. Right.
Everyone's fair game.
Indeed. And then when a priest came round, Father Jason Bradford, first full name we've had all this story, he came round and he looked at Annabelle and said, "You're just a rag doll. You can't hurt anyone," and yeeted her across the fucking room. And Ed went, "Oh, shouldn't have done that."
She's going to be pissed.
Yeah. And then, apparently, a few hours later, the priest, after he'd left, the priest called Lorraine and explained that on his way home, his brakes had failed at a busy intersection and he was involved in a near-fatal car crash.
Near fatal, though. Annabelle can't have been that pissed.
But the thing is, this is like later that day. The first thing you did after being involved in a near-fatal car crash was like, fuck, I better ring Lorraine and tell her. Whew.
It wasn't the arsehole up my arse at the traffic lights. It was Annabelle.
That's it. If the story would have been a few days later, he rang Lorraine and said, "Oh, I was involved in a car crash," then maybe. But the same day, you like going, "Oh, you know what? Oh, he's at the hospital in ICU," and he's like, "Oh, my broken limbs, but I need to ring Lorraine and tell her." It's like, oh, no.
Any normal person would be like, "Do you want to lick me enamel while you're at it, you twat?"
Yeah.
Nobody would think it was a possessed doll.
No, of course not. So after this incident, the Warrens went, ooh, and they built her a little wooden prison that you can see if you Google it, the pictures that she's in. She's in this wooden glass prison. A doll that can cause near-fatal car crashes. They went, wood and glass. That'll sort her right out.
You'll just stick a note on, "Please, positively, do not open," and that'll keep her inside.
And then...
safe as hell.
Yeah. And then this isn't it. This is like the last of it. One day they were doing a tour of the museum and a young man there didn't see eye to eye with the story. He may have been like me. He may have been a bit unbelieving. And after the tour, he went up to the Annabelle box and he demanded for her to scratch him or do something bad to him. And after Ed had asked him to leave, on the drive home, him and his girlfriend were laughing. I love the fact how it said they were laughing about the the incident, how the doll didn't do anything there, and then like he was looking over his shoulder going, ha 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 ha, my dear, we showed that doll, ha 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 ha. It's just so stupid.
Did he expect her to stand up in the glass box and go, do you want gravy? Peas and gravy. Like, I can't hear you. There's a piece of glass between us. What are you saying? I'm going to curse you, but do you want peas and gravy? No.
Or just headbutt him through the glass or something. Maybe that's what he thought. But apparently he drove headfirst into a tree and proper face first into it, and he died instantly. And his girlfriend was in hospital for over a year.
Well, it's because they were too busy looking at each other and laughing about it. Eyes on the road, mate.
Yeah. But again, with this, no names, nothing that we can trace. So, and then Zach Baggins,
Bagans.
Bagans. What? He's a hobbit. I don't
Zach
really give
Bagans,
a shit.
not Zach Baggins. He's not a hobbit. He's tall, strapping, and lovely.
Whatever.
Swoon.
He went to see Annabelle. I've not actually seen it, but I've just read what Tony Spera, who is the son-in-law and the Warrens' protege, and who now owns all rights to everything that they have in their museum, which unfortunately is closed permanently because of zoning law. It's actually just a house, and they don't have adequate parking for the amount of people that are turning up.
That's unfortunate.
When they're giving tours. So it's closed permanently now. But, Tony said that Zach he seemed to come across as doing an act for the camera, and it was all cut out of everything. So he regrets having Zach and the Ghost Adventures crew in there, but he still made money from it. So I don't understand. No, I don't see how
Zach doesn't lie always.
No, you forced us to watch Demon House, right? Just remember that.
I love Zach, and I love Ghost Adventures.
Yeah. What is interesting, on the 14th of August 2019, Annabelle Escapes was trending on Twitter. And there was kind of a little bit of an uproar in, I'm going to say your community because it ain't mine, that Annabelle had actually escaped from the museum. And Tony Spera had to put out a statement that she hadn't actually escaped. What had happened was that there was an interview with Annabelle Wallis, who had just finished filming The Mummy with Tom Cruise, and she's in Peaky Blinders as well, I think. And it was mistranslated, and it was mistranslated, and that was what was trending, the mistranslation rather than Annabelle actually escaping.
I love it because it's Annabelle Wallis, the main actress in Annabelle. Is that not
she
her?
was in Annabelle as
That's
well.
her name,
yes.
isn't it?
Yes,
the blonde woman, yeah.
Yeah, so I think they kind of grabbed all this stuff together from her doing an interview, and then it just got mistranslated and dialed down, and then Annabelle Escaped started trending on Twitter for a good couple of hours, and
love it. That's brilliant.
People were worried.
People are losing their shit worldwide. We're next. Yeah. Love it.
But there's many problems with this. One of the first and the major ones is that there's no surnames, there's no traceable evidence to this story, there's no location to it. Donna doesn't have a surname.
Very suspicious.
The priests don't have a surname, and
priests
all of this.
They're just father.
Well, yeah, I know, but like the only person who has a full name is Father Jason Bradford, who probably did yeet Annabelle across the room. You know what I mean? Some priests are like that. Just don't like joy in their life, do they? And also, Ed did kind of tell a different tale in a video recorded tour. in the 90s about Annabelle's backstory. Annabelle Higgins, his backstory. She was killed in a car crash, apparently, rather than just found dead in a field.
That's
she was killed
quite
in a car
big
crash
difference. Outside
the apartment block. So the apartment block was already built. There was no field in this story. And she was 6 years old rather than 7. That I can forgive, but her death was is not really forgivable. Also, he did say that the doll was given as a Christmas present rather than a birthday present. So he's backtracking.
How it Ed, get your facts right. You're
Indeed,
the demonologist.
I mean, this is a self-taught, isn't it? So that's where he falls down. See, if he would have gone to university and done it, he would have known how to run the story properly. Just keep the rhythm, the rhythm going. Don't deviate.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's no, not in a million years. The only possessed doll that there is in the world is Chucky, and that's it.
It's not. It's Robert.
Now, it's interesting you say that, because as I was doing this Annabelle research, I really wanted to do Robert, but that's even a weaker story than this one.
Do you think so, though? Because it's old. It's an old story. So I always think old stories have a bit of a ring of legend, potential truth to them.
But the thing is, stories. Yeah, no, of course. But the thing with Robert is, it's like, what is it? Is it a voodoo doll, or is it a doll from Germany?
Oh, it's most definitely a voodoo doll.
But then it's been traced back to being from the Schiff Company in Germany.
Yeah, well, they could have bought the doll like an ordinary doll, and then the nurse who was looking after the kid, like, cast a voodoo spell on it.
In fairness, it's god awful, and
it's a horrible doll.
It's scary.
It is. It's much scarier than Annabelle.
Yeah, definitely, without a shadow of a doubt. But I think it's more tedious than Annabelle, really.
Oh, I don't know. I feel like if I went and seen Robert the Doll, because he's in a museum as well. Is it like a maritime museum or something?
Key West. Key West Museum.
I would legit be like, "Hi, Robert. Is it okay if I take a photo of you, please?" I wouldn't take no chances. I'm just like, I'm not just gonna take a photo of Robert and then, crash my car on the way home just because it passed a dodgy MOT. I'm not gonna just.
Yeah, there'd be many reasons why you would crash your car. I think the 3-tooth mechanics are like top of the list there. Not
they didn't even do my dodgy MOT. But yeah, Robert is a lot scarier than Annabelle, but I always think like older stories they could potentially be more true, because the news stories, you would expect newspaper articles and facts to back them up, whereas you kind of got an excuse with really old stories because the newspapers maybe weren't as
the thing is
back then.
Yeah, and the thing is with Robert is it is actually traceable. There is the history to it. So I'd much sooner believe Robert over this one.
Yeah, same.
But still, it's a doll.
I think you're just afraid.
Maybe.
I think you're just frightened of dolls. Because normal people are. Dolls are terrifying.
Okay.
They're pieces of plastic pretending to be humans, okay? There's nothing okay about that.
I mean, you've got teddy bears and shit.
Teddy bears they don't even look like bears, though. They're not even slightly relating to anything. They're cute and they're cuddly, but dolls are pieces of plastic masquerading as human friends. It's not okay. And I'm onto them, is all I'm saying, okay?
Yep. So, dolls, you're on notice.
Mm-hmm.
Get your shit together or get out.
I'm onto you bitches. Mm-hmm.
So, the Winchester House, you say?
The Winchester House. Oh my God, the Winchester House. Ah! So I have actually, I must say, been to the Winchester House. I've never actually been physically to the Winchester House, but you did get me a virtual tour for my birthday last year, and oh my God, it's amazing. And it's so huge. Like, I feel like if I went in there by myself, I would most definitely get lost. I got lost on the virtual tour, to be honest, and I could only go forwards and backwards. So, but it's massive, absolutely massive. And it was built in 1886 by Sarah Winchester. Now, Sarah Winchester was married to one of the sons of the guy who invented the Winchester repeating rifle. And they were like childhood friends. And they fell in love and they got married. And so romantic. He built her a house. Not the Winchester Mystery House. He built her a house. And they moved in and they had this wonderful fairy tale like marriage. And not so far into their marriage, they had a baby. They had a daughter. And unfortunately, she only lived till she was 5 weeks old. And she had a disease or a condition where her body couldn't absorb nutrients from food. So she basically, unfortunately, it's very sad, but she actually starved to death. And there was really no treatment for it at the time. There was nothing anybody could do. It was the 1800s. It wasn't really well understood. And the baby died. And now Sarah's husband was really, really sickly, William. He was a sickly man. They said that he would be ill all winter and he would spend like most of the summer recovering and then be recovered by summer in time to be ill by winter again. It turned out he had unfortunate, right? What a shit life to be alive in the 1800s.
Isn't it? If you had like just a cough or something, everyone just looked at you and went, "Oh, Jesus, well,
especially
I'll see you in the next life."
He had loads of money because obviously his dad was a big deal, being the Winchester rifle guy, and so he had loads of money. So he like basically could have had like an amazing life, and he was so ill all the time. And it turned out he had consumption, which we now understand to be tuberculosis. And back then there was no cure. Now it can be cured with antibiotics, which is just nuts, really. Just something so simple. And it killed so many people. And so he had tuberculosis and he passed away. And Sarah was just absolutely devastated. She lost her baby and she lost her husband, and it wasn't like it was an arranged marriage or like a business marriage. She actually did really love him and they really were happy, and so she just, by all accounts, she spent the rest of her life grieving, and she never remarried. She never met anybody else. She couldn't deal with the loss. And somebody suggested to her, you should maybe just make a fresh start, just leave the house that's full of memories and move somewhere else and start up fresh, and that might help you kind of move on. So she moved to California, and because she'd inherited this fortune from her husband, she was absolutely minted, and I mean minted. Like, we're talking like $220 million minted. That's like in comparison to nowadays money. She was just absolutely loaded. And so the story goes that she got into the occult and she went to see some mediums.
See,
as you did back in those days, it was
where
very popular.
It goes wrong.
That's what it's
charlatans, shysters.
That's exactly right. I mean, it was very popular back in those days. So in the Victorian times, it was occultism and mediums and psychics were very popular, as we know, and there was an awful lot of charlatans. And she went to see a medium, and the medium told her, "Your family are being punished because your family made the Winchester repeating rifle that has taken so many lives that your family is cursed by the spirits of the people that the rifles have killed."
The spirits of the buffalo? What? I mean, like, Buffalo Bill killed all them buffaloes. Were them spirits haunting her as well? No. Shut up, you charlatan. Can you jog on? Why would you be... If you're going to be a medium, why are you going to be evil about it? Do you know what I mean? If you're going to lie to people, at least give them false hope. Don't just go, well, you're fucked, love. That's it. See you later.
Well, I think maybe the medium got wind of
Repeating custom, that's what you want.
She clearly got wind of how much Sarah was worth. And she said to Sarah, these spirits, they're going to follow you. They're going to haunt you forever, and they're probably going to kill you. And the only way that you can get away from them is by...
if I live with you forever and you pay me.
No, is by moving into the middle of nowhere, buying a house, and keep building. As long as you keep building, you'll stay alive. The second you stop building, they'll find you and you'll die.
Right, I'm not gonna lie. That is a good joke to play on someone.
Somebody with a lot of money, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, just think of the repercussions. That person's just evil, aren't they? That medium. That's
definitely.
Evil medium.
I mean, this is obviously all just speculation. We don't know that that's exactly what was said to Sarah, but she did. We know for a fact she bought a small farmhouse that was in mid-development in San Jose, California, and she built it into a mansion. And it was this big Queen Anne style, beautiful building. And she had servants, she had butlers and maids and all this kind of stuff. And she kept building. And she built and built and built and built. And she was building up, and it had 7 stories. This mansion had 7 floors. And then there was this massive earthquake. And Sarah's bedroom actually collapsed on her. So she was trapped in this bedroom for hours, and she was terrified. And her servants eventually found her. And the only area really of the house that was destroyed in the earthquake was the area where Sarah's bedroom was. So she kind of took it as oh my God, shit is going down right now. I need to not do this anymore. So instead of building it up, she thought, here's an idea. Why don't I build out? So she did. So she kept building more and more stuff outwards. Now, the house itself is a bit of a labyrinth. There's stairs that lead up to ceilings. They don't actually open anywhere. There's doors that open onto complete drops in 40 feet drops to the front lawn. I don't know, in case
I think she missed a trick with that stairs going up, because she should have had stairs going up to and then there's a door on the ceiling, and then you have to kind of open the door and then climb out. I think
a fun house.
Yeah, for me that's how I would have ended that, rather than just go nowhere. Well, just put a door in, it'd be funny.
I mean, I guess if she had maybe she did it just to irritate, to stop guests or family members coming over, because they've spent ages walking up this flight of stairs. Oh, for fuck's sake!
Another one. It's the third time.
Maybe it was
Fucking
to stop people coming round. I am sick of walking all these stairs that lead absolutely nowhere to a ceiling to walk all the way back down again. Maybe it was just
a party. I just want a soup course. That's all. Jesus. I've almost fell out that door that goes nowhere into the bushes. Jesus.
I bet she saved those for the best relatives. She most probably left it locked most times, but on the evenings that her annoying relatives came over, she left it unlocked in the hope that
nieces and nephews that are running
around. This has got to be a toilet. Pissed as a fart, falling out on the front lawn. She's that'll fettle them. They'll not be back. But she had doors that opened nowhere, doors that opened onto brick walls, stairs that led to nowhere, stairs that led to trap doors that led to just drops, and windows that looked onto other rooms instead of outside. The whole house was just a massive labyrinth. And
do you think she used the same architect that H.H. Holmes used?
I think maybe the medium channeled H.H. Holmes.
Indeed.
I need an architect of the age. Yeah. Who can you get me? Well, I can get you H.H. Holmes. He was pretty nifty on the architecture side of things. Yeah. Do you need a gas chamber?
He had mad rooms, yeah. Got a trapdoor.
I don't, but I could make it into...
work it in somewhere.
Yeah. I mean, she even had one room that was the seance room, and it had like a cupboard in the corner, and the cupboard actually opened out and was a secret passageway to another room in the house. Like, how fucking cool is that? That is just amazing. I would love that.
Oh, you want that, don't you? Or a bookcase that you just pull a book out of and door opens. That you need that.
Secret passageways.
Everyone needs that.
Oh, I would honestly, if somebody said to me, "I've got a house with a secret passageway," I'd be like, "I'm moving out and I'm buying it now." It could be like a council flat or something in like, you know, the shittest area of London. I'd be like, "I'm moving.
Yeah,
I'm moving now. I want a secret passageway house." So she did. She had this secret passageway, and apparently the theory was that if she made the house really confusing, that the ghosts would chase her and they would get confused, so they would never find her to be able to kill her. And apparently she slept in a different room every night so that they could never go, "That's Sarah's bedroom," which is weird because, you know, the front of the house collapsed on her, which was her bedroom. And I don't think it was just that one-off night she was unfortunately sleeping there. I think that was actually her bedroom. So that's kind of a bit, doesn't quite fit.
Yeah, surely, like, most ghost literature is, like, ghosts just, like, go through walls anyway. So
it wouldn't make no difference.
Yeah, they're not going to, like, go, "Oh, fucking hell, stairs. I've got to climb up these, get to the top and go,
another bastard ceiling!
Oh,
sick of this shit.
Yeah, right, I'm going home.
Going down the road. Enfield, somebody said that was nice. Let's go there. Battersea. But actually, nobody knows how many rooms the house actually has because there is no original blueprints because Sarah just did keep building and keep changing the house. She also had an obsession with the number 13. So she absolutely loved stained glass. And some of the windows in the house are just absolutely fabulous. Like, I want these windows. And they all had they would have 13 orbs or 13 panes of glass. Like in her, all the stairs had 13 steps. There was panelled ceilings and there was 13 panels. In her will, there was 13 parts to her will, and she signed it 13 times. There was 13 bathrooms, and the 13th bathroom had 13 windows of its own, which is kind of weird because on a privacy kind of deal.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people kind of thought she was crazy. Some people thought that she was part of some weird cult like the Freemasons or something, and that everything that she left dotted around the house, because everything was kind of really ornate, like even the door handles had really intricate carvings in them and things like that. Everything was gorgeous, and people were saying, no, she's leaving Da Vinci Code clues for us, like she's part of the Freemasons or something. And actually, when she died, they found this secret panel, and when they opened the secret panel, there was a huge, really thick metal vault door, which they managed to prise open. And then behind this metal vault door, there was a metal safe that was locked. And when they bust that open, thinking, like Casper style, they'd find the gold, they found just some letters from her husband and a lock of her daughter's hair. Like, that's what she treasured most in the whole world, which is nice. But so people thought that she was nuts. And there was actually one story, it's my favourite story about the Winchester Mystery House, is that Sarah had this grand ballroom built, as you do, because you just wouldn't have a big house without a ballroom. You just wouldn't do it. Only peasants would not think to build a ballroom. So she built this grand ballroom, and it had an organ in, and the floor was like rosewood, and the whole room was just gorgeous. And she said to celebrate this building of this room, once it was completed, she planned this big party, and she had the servants, lay gorgeous food on these buffet tables, and she hired the best musicians to play, and the room was all set up, and the musicians arrived, and they were playing. And they played for a couple of hours, and nobody showed up, and they were like, maybe we got the day wrong, but the food's kind of here. And Sarah was the only one that showed up because there were no other guests, and everyone was like, "Ooh, that's just creepy." Like, no, it isn't. Maybe she just wanted to fucking party in her own house. She's loud. It's her house.
Yeah, why not? Yeah, why not?
Carry on playing, bitches. I have paid you for the night.
Yeah.
If I want to dance on my own, I'll dance on my own.
You're here to play, not critique. Come
exactly.
On. You can get on with it.
So I bought this book called Sarah Winchester Beyond the Mystery, and it's by Bennett Jacobstein, and it basically details Sarah's life and when she moved into the house and when she had it built. And when you kind of look into the speculation and the legend kind of stuff, the weird kooky stuff, you find that actually Sarah wasn't nuts at all. She was a fucking pioneer of her time. She was amazing. She everything she did in the house, she had these steps that would, like the stairways that would like go back on themselves, like so they wouldn't be steep, they would only have a very, very slight incline, but they would weave back on themselves so she could they would still get up a height. And that's because she had really bad arthritis. She couldn't lift her foot like more than 2 inches off the floor, so these little steps that weave back on themselves meant she could still get up to that floor without having to raise her foot very high. She had elevators installed. She was obsessed with architecture. She loved architecture. She was like, honestly, I feel like the Winchester Mystery House wouldn't have even been built if The Sims had been invented when Sarah was alive. She just spent all her time building on The Sims. And the reason why doors led to nowhere and windows were looking onto other rooms and things like that is because she didn't really, if she decided that pool room that I've got there, it's all right, but I prefer if I just chopped it in half and put another wall there, maybe stuck a window there. And she would just do that, like leave the room unfinished. So the doors that led to nowhere did used to lead to another room, but she just got rid of that room. Like, I don't like that one anymore. And the windows that looked onto other rooms were like, they used to be windows on the outside wall, but she was like, fuck it, put another room on there. It doesn't matter about the window, just leave it in, it's all right. And the stairs that led to nowhere did used to lead to another floor, but the earthquake meant that she stopped building up and she built out. So it did used to lead to another floor, but that floor was destroyed in the earthquake.
It was gone, yeah.
And she came up with all these inventions of her own. Like she had, she loved gardening, and when she was like in her later age, she was she couldn't like bend down and stuff. She, like I say, she had terrible arthritis, and so she built this like subfloor in like a conservatory where she kept all her plants and her flowers and things. And the floor basically came back. It came back, and then there was this subfloor, and she could water her plants on this metal subfloor, and the water would just drain away into the drains of the rest of the house, and then the floor would raise again and be like level.
Oh wow.
And she had like one of the world's very first proper showers, because you know bathtubs were a thing at the time and women weren't really encouraged to take baths, but because Sarah was so much in pain with her arthritis, she built a full standing shower. And it was like she just came up with this this invention herself. Her house had electricity, and she used to donate like thousands of dollars to funding tuberculosis research. She funded a whole tuberculosis hospital in like memory of her husband. She would give money to like poor people anonymously, or she would have like food parcels delivered to people in the neighborhood that were like hard up, and it was all anonymously. And everyone just thought she was this crazy old lady who would never let anyone see her face. She always had this black veil over it, and she was just by herself in the house, and she was just nuts, and she didn't talk to anyone. But she was so nice to everyone in the neighborhood, and her servants absolutely adored her. And she left majority of her worldly possessions to her niece in her will, who then went on to sell the house to the people who own it now, who do the tours. And if you look at the pictures of it in the 60s, it really looked like a haunted house, like a horror movie haunted house.
Yeah.
But then they've kind of painted it this weird colour that makes it look a bit like it should be in Disneyland.
It does look a bit Disney-ish now, doesn't it, really?
It does. And if you see the pictures from the 60s, it did really look like a beautiful but really scary house. And now it kind of looks like a theme park attraction. But yeah, there was nothing scary or weird or occultish about the house. It was just Sarah was just a pioneer, and She just decided, like, I don't like that room. Just put a different room in. We'll just leave that door. Whatever. Don't really care.
I think, yeah. I mean, I think that's the thing that everyone's obsessed with the house rather than the person with this, because obviously, like you say, there was an earthquake. It demolished she couldn't build up for it to be safe, so build out. It's San Francisco. You know, you can't. There's earthquakes there all the time. You build high, it's going to fall down. So you build out, and it's stability.
Well, she actually had the house built on this, like basically a raised platform, so that if there was another earthquake, the house would kind of move with the platform and wouldn't get damaged by the earthquake. And these were like all. She had no architectural training. This is just all kind of. She was just like, oh, I've got the money, like, fuck it, let's give it a go. If it doesn't work, I'll just rebuild the house. I got 220 mil, whatever. That's
it. I think she just had a lot of money and nothing to spend it on, really. I mean, well, she had so much money she didn't need to spend anything on anything. But do you know what I mean? I think she was just, as well, trying to not bury herself away from the grief, but try and work through it in her own way. And everyone
gave
tries
her a
to
hobby,
look at,
didn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And I think most of the stories you hear about the Winchester House is, ooh, spooky. And it's like, no, it's not spooky. It's just someone who had enough money to be able to do that and change their mind, as is their whim, you know?
It's very whimsical, but you kind of look at it and you think, it's kind of like a kid's, like, you can imagine this is what the inside of Sarah Winchester's head is like it's just this whimsical fantasy castle kind of thing. And she just built it like it was in her head. And she was like, I've got the money, she was getting about £1,000 a day from, because she was a real astute businesswoman as well. She didn't, like, solicitors and accountants couldn't pull a wool over her eyes. She was on the ball. And she knew where her money was going, and she knew how to make money. So she was getting $1,000 a day, and back in them days, like, that was big money.
Yeah.
It just rolling in just for the sake of it, you know. So money just was not an issue. Everything she had inside the house was a fortune. It was just amazing, and the nice things she did for the community around her as well, and nobody noticed because it was all anonymous. And it's just like I feel like people, like you say, they concentrate on the house and they don't really understand the amazing person that was behind it.
Yeah. And as well, when stuff is coming in anonymous, you never actually think, oh, it's that mad old bitch in that big house, do you? You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, oh, maybe Bill Gates has been through here and seen how we're doing. It's never the scary lady in the house. And just because she kept herself distant from maybe not the community, but because she wore this black veil, because she was in mourning, because she decided to mourn the way she wanted to mourn rather than the way it should be dictated to her. Do you know, I think she was looked at as like one of them crazy. Everyone knew a crazy old woman when they were growing up. I had one, Irene, at the end of the street. Oh God,
hope you're not listening, Irene.
Oh God, I hope not. Jesus, she'd be 485 if she is.
I bet she was only like 32 or something back when you were little.
She probably was, you know, and that's the thing. When you don't look at it like that, and you don't know what they're doing outside of that. You just see someone that won't give you the ball back. You know when
we shouldn't have kicked it in their garden.
To be honest with you, I shouldn't have, but I've got 2 left feet, so it's not great. But yeah, I think this story, it kind of dwells on the house and medium. There was a medium involved, and the spirits of the Winchester rifle company. It's not like it's all taken away from Sarah. It's all done about the house and not. She could fucking do it, so let her do it. Like, what harm?
I don't even think that she did even. Maybe she did see a medium, but I don't think the medium told her, keep building or you'll die, because there was the legend that the builders built constantly, 24/7, around the clock from when the house first started to be built in 1886 to the day that Sarah died in 1922. And when Sarah's servants were like asked about this, they said no. There was lots of times that Sarah said, for God's sake, give my head a break. Take a couple of months off. I can't deal with your constant banging and hammering anymore. So it wasn't continuous building at all. She had a hobby. Yeah, architecture was her hobby.
Yeah, I think there's documented evidence as well that they took breaks of 6 months. There's like 6 months breaks that the builders took. And one of the best stories that I actually heard about this house is like Harry Houdini went to see the Winchester house, and he was like, he hated mediums and he hated the occult, and he was out to prove everything was weird, and basically just came out and went, pretty decent. And like, he didn't have a bad word to say about it. He just went, nice. I'd do this if I had the money, kind of thing. And I think that's one of the best compliments, because at the time he was trying to find all the mediums to he was like a witch hunter general for mediums. But he kind of went, nah, decent house, move on. Deal with it.
He actually was the first person to label it the Winchester Mystery House as well.
Oh, okay. Never knew that.
Yeah, it's Harry Houdini that coined that for the house.
Decent, but no, it does look a stunningly beautiful house. It's a little bit cartoony now, I suppose, but back in the 60s, like you say, it was one of them. Maybe not Georgian, but one of them where you see it like a little bit like what is it, Anthony Perkins' Psycho House kind of thing.
Like a
it's up on the hill. Yeah, it's one of them that you just need a crack of lightning behind it, and you go, oh, look at that.
Yes, it is. It does look pretty amazing. But she did everything for a reason, you know. They were like, why is there a window into this toilet? Like, why would anybody want to watch somebody sat on the toilet? But actually, it was because Sarah had it fitted as she got older. And it was so her carer could see that she wasn't, like, dead on the toilet or,
she weren't dead
or
on the floor,
fallen or something like that. Yeah, everything was for a legitimate reason, you know, so she was a pretty amazing lady.
Yeah, I know, that's it. And, yeah, that's